Hello. You're welcome to the Talking in Circles podcast with Fumi Richards. Oh my gosh, Jesus God. This is Valentine season. Like, I don't understand. It's like everybody's singing that, how they sing that song. It's very, it just seems to escape my mind right now. But anyway, it's a Valentine season, and I thought, okay, because people not allow me to rest, and I don't have a love life to share with people, so let me go and look for a couple that will say, okay, let's talk about love. Let's talk about things that, how they are doing their own love, because me, I don't really understand this thing, and I'm sure that so many of us that don't understand it. So I felt like, okay, let's bring someone. Drum roll, please, or let's give a round of applause. 1 minute.
Hello. I'm Sisi Okoro, fondly called, and then I'm Chukwunomso Chinyere Okoro, the CEO of the Sisi Go Group. We are foremost people for bakery and other kinds of real estate and then agriculture. We've been in function at the turn of the first decade of the 2000s. It's a big pleasure being on set with on this podcast, particularly with Phoebe Richards. Thank you.
So now he has introduced himself. See, this life is very funny. He now introduced himself, he now introduced his wife. Now me, I'm not supposed to do introduction for his wife. It's where. So where do we begin? So there are a whole lot of there are conversations inside this thing, but let's not go into the full length of the conversation. So, but without further ado, without further ado, let us welcome to the stage Sisi Go's wife. Like, this is the, you know when they say the CEO, and then the COO. So this one is our COO.
Good day, everybody. I'm the wife of Sisi Okoro Chukwunomso, and I'm so happy to be on this broadcast. Yes, as usual. Although this is actually my first time here, but I'm glad to be a part of this love. Should I call it love?
We don't know what we're yet. We'll find it by the end of this podcast. By the end of this podcast, everybody will know why we came here.
All right. Whatever it is, I believe I'm going to be a good part of it. So thank you very much for having me.
So yes, I wish you guys had I wish you could give like a video to see like, oh, okay, we're all just chilling here. I've been with them for a while, so I said, okay, let's do this. I mean, if I don't bring content to you guys, I mean, what else am I doing in this life? Actually, there's so many other things I'm doing, but the point being, I have to bring content to you. And this is still the Talking in Circles podcast with Fumi Richards. So with me, I have Sisi Go. Sisi Go is a brand name for a company that does a whole lot. Like, he said bakery, he said real estate. But there are chances where Sisi Go might actually go into media. We still don't know the details yet, but I'm just giving you like amable, because hello, if I don't do amable, who will do it for you? Anyway, but beyond all else, today we're in Valentine's season, as I said earlier, and there's a lot of love in the air, and it frankly gets quite tiring having to deal with that much love, or people that are dealing with that much love. But as an opportunist that I am, I said, okay, let's talk about love, and let's talk about love not just in love as itself, but love as in regards to finances, which is, I mean, very important. I mean, how can you love without money? Really think about it. It's not a playing field. So today, just continue to call him Sisi Go, in case you're wondering. I'm just going to call him. Let's take the brand name as the person. So, but Sisi Go is basically, I've known, let's just not talk about how long I've known him. But the point is, they have a business, and not just that they have a business, they work together. And it always amazes me because I'm always like, how do you work with your partner, and how does it, like, does it push you? Does it, what's that level of encouragement that you get from working with your partner? I mean, of course, at the end of the day, you know that is your partner. So both of people, if people don't work together and you don't get the proceeds, both of people go hungry together. But at the same time, the context of like, how does it, I mean, if I was working with a friend, I feel like I would be energized, but I might not necessarily feel that, that vibe has to wake up every day and keep working. But what keeps you going to work as a couple? Like your brand, how are you able to keep the business going despite the fact that you guys are a couple?
Okay. So what keeps us going particularly? Thank you very much for that. It's a very, very core question, because sometimes people have the reason to work with their spouse and have reasons not to be so serious about work. But I was privileged to live and be born to parents, and many parents, friends of parents, who were working class, in quote. So because of their working class nature, I have never desired, I've studied them. I'm a very deep thinking person. So I began to think through it, and I found out that most of the time when they marry together, they are both married, and then they begin to work, and this one is working in Mr. A and this one working in Mr. B. By a long period, as I said, they spend time, 10 years, 25 years, most of them tend to grow apart, because a different work set and another different work set, and so the mindset is not together. So one of the things that drives me is the fact that you drive one vision, because with the purpose of one vision, growth, expansion, the family is more together. It's just like a certain scripture in the old ancient books that is written and said, a family that prays together stays together. As long as there's something that the pair begin to drive, they wake up in the morning, they want to pray about it, they go out today, they want to be part of one thing, because it's driving a vision. And people become more successful when they drive a vision. When people start driving two different visions in one couple, then they are likely to grow apart. It has proven itself in the US, it has proven itself in developed countries, in the Philippines, all of them. Most of them who drive different vision, husband to a different vision, they are living like partners. That's why the popular word is said to be partner. But if they are supposed to live together as spouses, knowing that this one is not just a partner. Some of them want to marry, they are doing dog. They are like, this is a dog, this is his partner. No, we're talking about human beings, higher than the animals. So what they do is you come into it with a vision together. So when you're picking a spouse, you're not speaking as I'm referring to the men. You pick a spouse on the grounds that you share like destination. So because you share like destination, chances are going to be higher that what you need to do is you design a purpose or seek your deeper purposes, so that as you as a man is being fulfilled, the wife is also being fulfilled. So you people drive one vision. On rare occasion will I really prefer that my spouse will be working somewhere else. However, there's always that emotion that goes on with work, when you know that maybe sometimes when you should have been firm, you're trying to be a little more less firm because you're dealing with your wife now. If it was a worker, say get up, sit up, stand up, and you give your order clear. But when you're dealing with your wife, you're trying to be a little more tender. You just know that you are beyond just work, and so that is something that is loving, it's something that is kind. But the mindset should be clear. It's better when people espoused to each other should have one goal. Let it be that even if you had to work somewhere else, there's something that is beyond just work that the both of you share. It's an eternal value.
Okay, I think when you say, I feel like you said a whole lot in just how many minutes, but I think it also reminds me of, there was this time when I was much younger, And I say it like now, I'm agbalagba, but I'm not that old. The point is, I mean, I was like 5, 6 or so, I watched this movie, Nigerian movies. Hallelujah, Nigerian movies, Lord. So there was this Nigerian movie that the husband and the wife were both lawyers, and somehow it turned out that they took the same case, one as a prosecutor and one as a defendant. Defense attorney, not defendant actually. And oh my cheese, it literally tore the house apart. And whenever I think of that, I remember when I wanted to study law, that thoughts kept recurring, because I was like, people. I cannot just go and study law and then. No, I'm not saying that people that study law, I'm not saying that will be your case. But guy, if you go and marry a lawyer, well, all will be well with your world. But point being, I totally understand where that comes from. So, but coming from your wife's point of view, I think I'm really interested in knowing how you've been able to take it on. I mean, he's talked about the fact that, there are times when he might want to say, do this, and with a firm hand, or say, do this, but you having to know that, beyond all else, I mean, if you're working in an office, you just know that if the boss annoys you, when you get home, you dust your slippers off and enter their house. But then when you know that this person that you're working with, this boss in quotes, is actually your husband, how does it, like, I just want to know your thoughts.
Well, working with your husband is not really easy, but because of the same vision of making the business grow, you just have to take it and do what you have to do. Because for the business to grow, there's need for agreement between the two of you. And without that, the business would fall apart, or the couples would either fall apart. One of these things is going to happen. But for me particularly, when we actually got married, we were into this baking and all that. I even went to baking school. He too was into it practically. So I saw it as, wow, we can do this together. We can make it big. We can even, go far with it. So I sort of took it as, yes, it's part of our vision. It's part of our life plan to make sure that this business, this brand, this CC Go becomes very big. But working together as a couple, sometimes you might have a different opinion about something, and then he has a different opinion. You believe your opinion is best. He is the boss, and he wants you to do it the way he wants to do it. So it's really not easy. One person has to submit, and most times, let me just say it the way it is. Most times I get offended. I'm like, you should allow me express my own ideas, my own feelings about this thing. You shouldn't just impose your own on me. Even though you think your own is good, you should try mine. If it doesn't work out, then you can say I told you. But it's really not easy. It takes a lot, but I believe it's possible to work with your husband to achieve something big. Yeah, it's just all about should I call it understanding. It gets to know why he's saying it that way. Perhaps it will work out. Yes, try to see it from his point of view and perhaps do it. So I believe seeing it from his point of view will give you a better way to approach it, and manner of approach too matters a lot, because if he's yelling at you, you won't take that well. So I believe the way he says it matters, making you understand that, yes, I know you have wonderful ideas, but I just want you to do it this way. And appreciation at times. Let it not look like, okay, this business, it's all about my effort. It's a joint, and the both parties should see it as them be equally putting their efforts, and one should always appreciate the other for the effort given, while the other appreciates the other. By so doing, their best will come out, I believe. Yeah, that's what I have to say.
No, that's not all you have to say. We're still coming back to you. But on another note, now that you said appreciation, because I'm just like, I always wonder, like, I feel like, okay, there was a time, I don't know, I think I've mentioned this to you guys before. There was a time that I wanted to work just after high school, and I'd done everything. I'd gotten the job. I was so sure that like I was going to start working. I mean, before they decided to say, okay, somebody will go to university. It's not as if I was not planning to. Point is, I was going to work. And then we went back and forth. My mom and I fought about it. And then my mom was like, oh no, that instead of that, I will sit there in the house and do all the chores, and then she will pay me. We can't really say that she actually paid me for the job, but at least in actual terms, if you want to really calculate it, it might not be that she actually paid me for that job, like the chores in the house. But at least I think at that time, my dad started, my mom and dad had this conversation, and they started paying me an allowance. So it brings me back to the conversation of like, appreciating, like, how do you pay each other? Like, because I understand with business, it's so easy, especially as an entrepreneur, it's so easy to just say, oh, okay, you're trying to pluff back whatever you gained from the cost of production back into the business and everything. But what happens, like, do you create a space where at the end of the day you pay yourself from what you earn? Once you've been able to like remove the cost of production, how do you pay yourself? Especially because of the fact that both of you are actually in the business. How do you, as a CEO, how do you pay yourself? How do you pay your CEO? How do you balance it out? Especially because at the end of the day, both of people are eating from the same pot, and there's so many things involved in that kind of conversation. So, but I'm really interested to know.
Thank you very much. First, we would look at it from possible two sides. Appreciation is in two sides. First, you have the possibility. Now, in appreciation, dealing with that's one side. Then, in appreciation, you have two major types of appreciation. When people work for you, you should be able to first of all say thank you. Vocal appreciation. Then you now go into enumeration, as in financially. Let the person feel the impact of the work and the profits that come from the work. For myself and my spouse, first, you know that there are some special works that come that's like an all-night work. Automatically, that's the one I quickly cut a percentage out and say, spend at your will. I also spend that one at my will. We have a back-to-back work that takes 4 or 5 days. You say, okay, at the end, 3 days, 4 days, immediately after that one, I would like to get a break. And that's the kind of work I finish and say, please, can we go and take fish pepper soup somewhere? Treat ourselves well and say, we've done well. Then maybe that's the time I'll now remember, what is that one thing that you've been talking about that is the most important thing? Because even if you say you want to pay her salary, you're still responsible for so many of her personal needs. As a wife, as a man, you're in charge of the house. You should be responsible for day-to-day runnings and needs of the wife. So at that kind of situation, you're now like, which is the other major need she has been talking about? She has mentioned this one. She has mentioned this one. Which one is the next one? You look for a chunk and just settle that. But there is consistently about 10 to 20% that you always withdraw for your weekly runnings and weekly fares. While the system grows, you now put it as a proper salary. But right now, you just pick it up because it's like contract. It keeps coming up once in a while. And that's my major response to how we appreciate.
You're saying that basically what you're saying is that you're like my mother that paid me allowance that I cannot really trace whether true they gave me allowance. Is where it's good to know. Now I know. Because in this life, I know this is one thing I've always had. I think, okay, even with the joke of, the allowance, at the end of the day, growing older, I understood that, of course, not everyone that actually got to have like an allowance. I mean, I could still have been, I was in my parents' house, and if you live in Nigeria or you've ever lived in an African home, technically they don't need to pay you for slave trade. You will do the slave trade with your full mind. My dear, you will do it with your full mind. But at least it was paid labor. So I guess there were bonuses involved. And of course, there's also the part that I was also eating our food for free. So, and as my mom would like to remind me, the food that you're eating, is it you that bought it? Is it you that bought it? I mean, so that there are levels to this thing. And I think one of the reasons why that is even a thing is because I always feel like at the end of the day, there's that need to earn. There's that need to, I mean, this is still the Talking in Circles podcast with Fumi Richards. And today we're talking about love and finance and all of that deals with that. Anyway, so going back to what I was saying, yes, I understand that it's so easy to have all of those things, and I think as a business grows, there's that chance to like, oh, okay, let's put you on a permanent salary. Let's have that discussion. Let's know, okay, how much is coming in, how much is going out. Let's have a full reign of the finances and everything like that. So, which also brings me back to another conversation. So last year, and by last year I mean like 2021, depending on when you're listening to this, but in 2021 there was the issue of Bill and Melinda Gates. It just, I mean, that was a power couple. It's just like, I don't know, they were a power couple, and technically they had built their business, their foundations, everything. Like, let's not even talk about the billions, but the billions, yes, of course. And they had built it together. And I think for me, it was a bit of a challenge for me. Not really a challenge, but it was a bit of a challenge because I had a client that needed a strategy document based on like proposals they could run through them and everything. And I remember putting together a review based on based on their foundation, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, which is still the name that they call it in spite of the divorce and everything. And one issue that kept coming up in the conversations at the time when I was putting the review together was that, how did he split it? I mean, there's a lot of money to go around. Yes, there's that possibility that probably to that 10th generation they might not need money, but hello, how do you now separate the money, given that there's enough to go around for 10 generations, and then they do have children? So there's that possibility of saying, okay, the children, take your own share, this is your inheritance. Now the one that is now left over, let's now separate it. So, but how do you, I mean, and I'm not saying, oh, okay, because there's a lot of conversations as to divorces, and there are some people who go as far as going for prenuptials. My thoughts are running in a mile a second, but there's a lot of conversations regarding that. So, but in that kind of situation, I know clearly you're a Christian and you have fundamental beliefs regarding all of those things, but what would have been, how do you divide that much wealth? Like, let's be honest, like, let's suppose there was no prenuptial, like they didn't have any prenup agreement, so there was no like, oh, okay, I'll take 70, I'll take this thing. We built this wealth together. I mean, and of course, if you read any part of the Bible, you probably remember, he who finds a wife finds a good thing. So and if you want to really go down that path, there's so many men that they would have gone far, but if their wife did not come into their lives, as they would not even go quarter of the father that you're seeing. So, but if you consider that premise, how do you now divide the wealth that will be fair? I mean, Bill definitely had his, like, of course, if you're the idea bringer, you have a stake. If you're the person who is supporting, I mean, nowadays they actually pay people for being support. I told someone I was going to start doing account support. So if I'm going to be helping you to push your goals, by the way, as an aside, I'm an accountability partner for pay. If you can pay me, I'm ready to help you reach your goals. I'm not going to lift a finger. I'm not going to light a candle. I'm just going to keep calling you and reminding you. but that's an aside. So, but that's just giving you an idea that, okay, the fact that I'm all helping you get to your goal means that I have a very large stake in your failure or your success. So how do you, of course, the Bible, and if you want to call it the good book, all of those most religious doctrines do not really support. Some do not support divorce. Let's not try to pick it in one side. They do not support divorce. But let's just suppose that they did, which they don't. Mind you, actually, since they do not. But how do you divide such a wealth on a fair scale?
On a fair scale, first we must first of all look at. I will need to further look at it because Bill Gates was already on a ton of a lot of success before he finally took his bride. However, sometimes women come in and they are very administrative. They are the key behind the administration. This person might just have a destiny of success but cannot have a full organizational plan. So that organizational plan most of the time comes to the woman. Then the other part to it, having said that, there's another side to the coin. The side to the coin is, or the flip to the coin, is the other bad side. People and greed. Because if a woman is leaving the husband or the man is leaving his wife, why are you leaving? So who is the one? This is a beautiful thing going on. Who is leaving? Who is causing the leaving? If the person who is causing the leaving, okay, then when you talk about the second side, the flip to the coin, the flip of the coin here now is the greed side. If someone is leaving, if I choose to leave, I should be willing to forfeit some certain things. Yes, you can't be planning to leave and you're planning to gobble a lot of things. That means you're now greedy. So whether the other person was the one who caused a reason why you feel you should leave, you should be willing to forfeit if you're really thinking you're tired of it. But leaving, knowing that you built something strong, you should be able to have a stipend out of it that is consistent, not just a big bulk cash. It's supposed to be, okay, your stake is 50% or 25%. Your 25% should still stay with you. And so based on the fact that it's with you, it's enough to continue to take care of your personal life, which is away from the other one as a group. If I were to set up my company now, my company is registered. She has her own percentage of the plan. That doesn't mean if she's leaving, she has to forfeit a certain part. That percentage that is hers. She can only forfeit a few on the grounds that she's leaving it for her own kids. Or whenever she thinks she will write her own will, her own stake, she can now cede it off to set of her kids that are available. The only challenge is when you don't have children or when you don't have, and then you now wonder, where are you squandering this thing to? Yeah, and so those are the kind of pictures that comes in the mind.
Okay, so basically, you're saying that if I say it's me that want to carry my kaya and go, I should be willing to leave the kaya that we built together and carry my own personal kaya and go. And just in case, as the children come and things like that, then I should be able, and all the dependents, if you adopt or whatever your kettle is. Point is, whatever situation that you are, as you continue, you can now evolve. Because I know that there are people who, when they first married, their next of kin were delving into insurance. But point being, when they first married, their next of kin was their spouse or their elder brother or younger brother or something like that. But as time went on, they changed it to their children or someone else. So of course, there's, as God gives us life and wealth, there's that chance to evolve and become, find new people that, this is our new focus, or these are the people that we're really targeting, and all of those things. Anyway, let's get to some really interesting stuff. I have a few questions, just a few questions. I'm not really that proud. Just a few questions. So just we know Valentine is coming. I mean, to be very honest, she just said pepper soup. I was just like, in this my life, I've not seen somebody that won't give me pepper soup. But for those who actually have people to give their pepper soup or like give their something for Valentine's Day, what are your plans towards Valentine's Day? Like, just in like 2 minutes, tell me, what are your plans? Like, no, let us start with her so that we'll understand what she's planning. Because now there's that trend of people giving boxers. So I want to know if it's boxers that is your right to. Is it boxers? There's boxers and something. Someone was once showing me this thing of, they're just going to give someone hypo and torchlight. This life, people should have mind. The church mind. Go to church with your full mind. But your thoughts, Valentine.
Okay, this Valentine, I really planned for it. I planned to give.
Don't tell us what you're giving, but just like give me insights. As far I'm able concerned, you might give me some details, but don't give me all the details because to spoil the surprise. So, and they'll not say that it's full Richard that spoil the surprise.
So, Valentine is known as Lovers' Day. A day where we show love, not just to our spouse, but to people around us, family members.
Let's just concentrate on the love within the spouse. Don't worry. The world will take care of the people outside. Don't worry.
Okay. Valentine's Day, most times, let me talk about the one of last year. The one of last year, we went out. We had a big bowl of pepper soup in one of the restaurants here. And then we came back home. My husband actually bought me a gift. I was very glad about that. Even though I didn't buy his. But he got me. Then when I was opportune to travel, I came back. I actually bought him some things too. So Valentine is actually a time for... Yes, I bought him boxers.
Hey, hold on, I need to short fire. Okay, so that was definitely interesting. So over to you.
Okay, Valentine for me is going to be pretty busy because I'm also in the hospitality business. So most of the time I'm even locked down on it. But as the evening tides come for that day, most of the time I can say, okay, come, let's go out and just have a hangout. Some other time I could choose to make a beautiful cake. I love it with baking, particularly when it has to do with some creativity, fashion in it. So we could just decide to make a very beautiful cake, maybe chocolate cake, sizzled with whipped cream, and that would be amazing, mouth watering. And you have that, and then you can now say, okay, sit down and enjoy.
To sell his business on my podcast now. You need to start
Okay, but that's beautiful. That's something you can just do and enjoy. Oh, what about a beautiful meat pie and then maybe a chin chin to pass across for some friends who will come around?
Basically, he's telling you should buy pastries. So, and as you're buying it, please, you can also remember to buy it for me too. I can send you my house address. I'm not really proud, but point being, okay. Yeah, so now we know that they have Valentine plans. Me, I don't have Valentine plans, but I'm willing to accept Valentine plans from other people. I've told you people this time on this podcast that I am not a proud person. So do not think I am proud. Send it first. Let me tell you, no, thank you. I will most likely not tell you no, thank you. But a few quick questions. So just like this is like yes or no. It's going to be like basically a tag question. You either say yes, no, or you tell me, you point or you say this person or this other person. Basically, I just want to do small mebo. So basically, do you have any vacation planned or dream locations or places you want to go for vacations?
Yes. Will you be hearing
Mm-hmm. Yes, we do.
Okay. You're saying we is you. Personal question. But okay. So yes. If someone gave you $100,000, what would you do with it?
Immediately, I'll go purchase facilities for floor mill. and probably a little bit of rice meal and processing.
While he's doing that, me, I will use the money to beautify my restaurant and make it attractive and one of the best standard in my town.
You see, that's the beauty. My man is always like, oh, let's just do this, but the woman is like, oh, okay, let's put the aesthetics, let's make it more beautiful, let's all of those things. Shout out to all the women in the house. Anyway, moving forward, are you a spender or a saver?
I'm an investor.
Interesting point of view.
I like to spend.
You are good for money. Like, it's good to have money. Like, you just know. So, but okay. What's the last big thing you bought, and was it worth it?
It was amazing.
What was it? What's the last big thing?
It was the oven. It was the biggest.
This business. They are going. See, that's why you say they're an investor. So, what's the last big thing you bought?
The last big thing I bought.
Probably the phone.
My phone.
These people, you're seeing the things that are going through my head, like right now. So, would you rather spend money on experiences or things? Like, you see that vacation you're planning now. Would you rather spend money on a vacation, or would you rather spend money buying the things you need? I know you won't answer.
I should spend money buying the things I need.
He has infected you. Anyway. So, but do you plan on giving allowance to your children? I mean, even if they're not going to boarding school, because I know for those of us who went to boarding school, you have to get an allowance, because how will you survive? But when God blesses you, I know you don't have children right now, but when you do have children, do you intend on giving them an allowance? And trust me, it always helps. But then context it also helps, because it allows them to understand finance and be more financially intelligent and responsible. So, but I'm advertising money for children. Do you intend to? Or do you want to have this conversation later and then come back to me?
Okay, primarily I'd intend to give allowances, but as soon as they get to a little bit of accountability, I'd rather want them to earn income. I prefer actually to put them on points at the beginning. There's a way you earn points. Either you pass the exam, you have a special point. You have sweeping. I want your room always kept. I want the bed folded. I want the bed wrapped with its bedspread. If you dress up, you leave the room. I check your room and it's well dressed. I should give you a point, 50 points, 1 point, 2 points. When it reaches 50, you have 100,000 hit your account. You're not going to spend it till you turn 18. You know the kind of rules. Those are the kind of rules I love to work.
Because at the end of the day, I'm feeding you in the house. So
yes. Why would you go and spend the money? So it's just money hitting your own account. When you reach that 18 accountability, you can now go ahead and have a plan. We sit down, we have a plan. If it's something aside from the business we're already doing, you can decide to use the same business name and go and open a new place, have your venture, and then we fund it from that your funds. I prefer you earn it. It builds character for a child.
Are you for or against?
I'm for.
Okay. I would like to be in my next life. I'll come and choose them as parents so that it will help my ministry. Because if they have been giving me that kind of amount, just say okay. If they had done points in my house, the thing is at the end of the day I would have gathered points. But whether they would have given me the money in true form is another question. I will gather the points and then they will not tell you, in the future, my mom will now sit there and be like, for me, all the food you have been eating in this house, all the things you have been eating in this house, are you trying to tell me that you can buy it with all that money that you're making noise? Shout out to all of us that they gave money to our parents, or they gave money to us and our parents collected it and said, not just our parents, so our mothers collected it and said that we keep it for you. Don't worry. How many of that? How much of that money have you seen? I'm just asking. I'm not looking for trouble. I'm not shaking anybody's table. I'm just asking for a friend, in case you have someone that you know. But ladies and gentlemen, it's been an exciting episode. I'm really glad that I've had CC Go and his wife. It's like their insights. I never even thought of this point thing, but now I'm actually thinking about it. But we'll have to have a man, and the man has to marry us. And the story is long. The point is that's a long. It's not a long. You get my point. The point is we have to have it first before we start thinking about it. But it's been an exciting episode, and this has been the Talking in Circles podcast with Fumi Richards. Thank you for joining us.
Of Indomie. Everywhere. Why? Every time I come here and I meet like this, -2 points. You make 1 point, you lose 2 points.
It's a very valid system, to be very honest. It's a very, very valid system.
Teach it till the person gets it.